Yeah, our West Bank Fire Chief Brian Adams as well is here, and Mr. Eric Jones was supposed to be here from AT&T. Is he here? I don't think he is here yet. Hopefully he will be arriving soon. Our Director of Emergency Management, Mr. Joe Valiente. Our Director of Public Works, Mr. Mark Drews. Our Chief Administrative Assistant, Sarah Babcock. And do you have any council members? Okay. So with that, I will start this evening's briefing. So yesterday we had an issue at PARD, our shelter operations. I think the generator went out. This was late last night. So we moved our shelter operations from PARD to Kings Grant. So whatever we were doing at PARD got flipped to Kings Grant. So we want to thank everybody for their efforts to stand up Kings Grant. Kings Grant already had electrical power, so we're going to keep our operations there. Now look, the numbers for people who are general population, people who we were putting on buses to go to Bastrop have been decreasing as the days go by. So I do believe we're in the last couple of days of doing this operation. But again, the operation is at Kings Grant instead of PARD from now on. I have invited Cox and AT&T to be here on this podium the past 2 evenings. I was expecting someone from AT&T tonight. Cox did say they did not have a representative coming. Sorry. I was told that Cox sent an email out to policy account holders today, and I was also told you could check their website. But I personally do not have an update from them. Obviously, they're welcome to come anytime to address our Jefferson Parish residents. So hopefully we will get some more information from them. Generator safety, many more calls for service regarding generators, 3 transports to the hospital in the middle of the night due to carbon monoxide poisoning. So again, this is the tragedy that we have had is that we have had more deaths post-storm with the 3 fatalities that we have had because of improper use of generator use and carbon monoxide poisoning. And there are still a lot of people using their generators. So please be careful and be safe with your generator use. Make sure none of those toxic fumes are coming into your house. Make sure the generator is cooled before you refuel it. All right? Please be careful. Now, the next item I have never talked about before. I'm trying to be extremely sensitive to this very delicate issue. But when we had the rising waters in Barataria and Lafitte, there have been some caskets that were removed from their resting location. And people are starting to get concerned, obviously, about deceased family members. So I took a call from Mayor Kerner last night. I also spoke to Dr. Jerry Satanovich. This is actually handled by a special team at the State Department called a cemetery team. They have already done aerial surveys, and they will do and schedule to do a ground assessment shortly. Okay, so I trust that this team is going to handle it with the sensitivity that it deserves. And more information will be coming, but I want everybody to know that we are aware of it, we're on it, and we know it is a family member of yours that was once very loved, and we will handle it. I'm sure the team, we're not doing it, but I'm sure the team will handle it with very much respect, because the cemetery team has been in place before, and they have done this before, okay, because we know this has happened with where we lived before. Okay, the nursing home situation, pre-storm, in Jefferson Parish, we had 13 nursing homes. Sarah was very good about checking with all of our nursing homes beforehand, before the storm, just to make sure and have that communication with them. Even though we don't regulate the nursing homes, that's done at the state, we did reach out to them and establish that connection. And we have been in communication with the nursing homes that had their residents stay locally. We've brought fuel to their generators. We've been trying to support them any way we can. But you heard the news about the 7 nursing homes with the one company run by Mr. Bob Dean, I believe, who left and pre-storm evacuated to Independence, Louisiana. There were 3 nursing homes in Jefferson Parish that were part of that group. I believe last count we know that there were 7 deaths resulting in that evacuation with those nursing homes. Unfortunately, 1 person, I am told, was from Jefferson Parish. So I heard from Dr. Cantor last night. He ordered last night the immediate closure of those 7 nursing homes pending further regulatory action. So Sarah Babcock is going to give you more details. If you have someone that you have not been able to locate yet who was part of that group, Sarah's going to give you much more details on that to come. All right. Entergy, I want to applaud Entergy. I know they have been here with us from pre-storm. They're always here with us, and I really want to say I know everybody is waiting for their energy to be turned around and on, but I want to applaud Entergy for being here with us in constant communication. I don't have to search for this information. I have Patrick Hamby here. I have two people who are here with us all the time. I know their resources are out there, and they're constantly giving me the information because they're here. And showing up is half the battle, guys. And Entergy has been with us here. So I want to applaud them for that. But I do know we were hearing from a lot of people, and I did talk to Patrick earlier today, that on the mapping site, which I appreciate, sometimes the map shows it green in your neighborhood, and people have been coming in from out of town to find that, you know, the whole neighborhood really isn't green. The electricity isn't off yet. So just please understand, and I've heard it the opposite as well, as maybe the neighborhood still shows red and the electricity is on. But I talked to Patrick earlier today just saying this is what I'm hearing that's going on. He's on it, and he will give an update. But, you know, I know the next issue is internet with Cox and AT&T. And I did invite them here to speak, to talk about their plans, and hopefully they'll show up and give us some more information. But I want to applaud Entergy for being so forthcoming from the beginning on all of their efforts, and because obviously we're a large group of account holders. So thank you, Patrick, and your team for that. Okay. Restoration efforts in Lafitte. The ferry ramp for connection to Barataria was working as of 3:30 today. So that was a really big effort by a lot of people, the DOTD, the Air National Guard, many of our folks. So that was great to have that connection and be able to have connection to Barataria and get some first responder equipment there. The mayor of Lafitte is giving all of those who have boats until noon on Monday, September 6th, time to get your boats south past Caceres Marina. You're going to get stuck in there when that other bridge comes by. So until Monday at noon, if you want to come get your boats and get them out of there so you're not stuck inside and you won't have access to the Barataria waterway in the Gulf, okay? So please, you want to get your boat out, go ahead and get it out before Monday at noon. And then our chief, Brian Adams, with Lieutenant Colonel David Anderson, have really been strategizing about when they get to the island. They're probably leaving tomorrow, but get to the island to start real recovery and restoration efforts on Grand Isle on Tuesday. And I know they have been strategizing about that nonstop. So Brian will probably address you with that. So as I mentioned, pod distribution, we want to thank Louisiana Air National Guard for operating these sites for us. 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. There are 4 sites: the Shrine on Airline, Ilario Center, Helen Cox, and Johnny Bright. We did have a little glitch at Helen Cox today because Entergy needed to get into that space and do their restoration efforts. But as soon as Entergy gets out and they do what they need to do, the Helen Cox site will be back up. Okay? Again, we want to coordinate all of our donations. We're very happy to get donations. It's donations@jeffparish.net. And when we do pop-up sites on any donations, and I know there's a lot of things going on in the community, remember, anything that we know about or we're involved in, check our social media pages throughout the day and stay informed on that. We continue to have charging stations for your cell phones and oxygen tank exchange at Fire Station number 20 at 4110 Hudson Street and Fire Station number 881 at 808 McCarthy Avenue in Harvey. And the Fire Station number 20 is in Metairie. All right. Lieutenant Colonel Barry Riley is here to give an update on Lang, so he'll come up later. The curfew is in effect tonight until 6 a.m., and it will be extended, a nightly curfew, from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. until Wednesday morning. The curfew will be in effect, a nightly curfew, from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. until Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. This coincides with the bulk of the Entergy restoration times in Upper Jefferson Parish. There will absolutely most likely be an extension of a nightly curfew in Lower Jefferson, in Lafitte, in Barataria, Crown Point, Lower Lafitte, and Grand Isle. But for Upper Jefferson, the nightly curfew is till 6 a.m. on Wednesday. Mark Drews is here. Again, every day, knowing that electricity is coming back on, we are fighting so hard to make sure that the water system and the sewer system improve every day, and that you will see another great day of advances from Mark and his team. But we are still under a boil water advisory. So as electricity gets back to our stations, we're able to collect samples, send it to Louisiana Department of Health, but I cannot lift a boil water advisory until I get permission, until those samples are acceptable to the Louisiana Department of Health. So we are still under a boil water advisory. I'm hoping that situation changes in the next couple of days, but as of now, please remember to boil your water for brushing your teeth, food preparation, all of that kind of thing, okay? No worries. Transit, hoping to start limited service in a few days. We're still using our vehicles and moving around our medical vulnerable people and many other areas. So in a few days, we're going to start hoping you'll see limited transit, because we know people need to get to grocery stores that are starting to open and other stores that are starting to open. You can still use our transit for dialysis trips and medical essential trips, okay? But stay tuned to us for more information on that. As I've said, every day we're scheduled to start our garbage pickup and our debris pickup, 2 separate contracts. We want that material separated from each other on Monday, September 6th. Remember, as I said yesterday, please keep low expectations on this. Everybody has all of their garbage from the storm, their food from their refrigerator, their freezer, a lot more garbage out, and it takes a lot longer for the trucks to come to your neighborhood, drive it to the landfill, and come back. They're not going to work as efficiently as pre-storm, like none of us are working as efficiently as pre-storm, and they're the same way. So it's going to take longer to get from the landfill. Remember, recycling is suspended until further notice. But to go back to your garbage and what you're putting out on the street, remember, do not place it by the fire hydrant. And we all know there's another storm in the system. Do not block. Understand how the water drains on your street and gets to the catch basin, right? It's collected all through the street, and it makes it to different catch basins. We don't want any material in the catch basin, and we don't want you to block the water flow to your catch basin. So whatever you put in the street is really part of the drainage system that we have. So be mindful. Do not put anything in the gutter. Keep it on the top side of your curb, okay, for pickup. Don't put it in the street and let it block the water flow on the street into the catch basin. You're going to be messing with the drainage system right in front of your house, all right? So please be mindful of that. FEMA Disaster Assistance is FEMA, the official website. Remember, only speak to them with their official website, disasterassistance.gov, or 1-800-621-3362. The Blue Roof Program, I just got some great numbers on that. blueroof.us or 888-ROOF-BLUE, which is also this number, 888-766-3258. But I was just told Joe Valiente that we've had over 12,000 registrations in Jefferson Parish so far. So that number's working. The website's working. Please go apply for that if you need be. There's no school next week. I heard from Dr. Gray and Dr. Houston the other day. No school next week for the Catholic school system, no school next week for our public school system, and none of our offices in government are open in Jefferson Parish. We're going to focus on all of the recovery efforts we're making every day. We're going to focus on that. And, of course, we know many of our employees are still out of the area. I just spoke to the sheriff. He's been around today, but it seems as though some gas stations are open. Many are still closed. It looks like the lines are a little bit shorter than the past couple days. And then, of course, we have limited stores that are opening, but I'm sure as the days go, more and more will get open. All right. I want to really thank, before I get off, I really want to thank, we have had, as the days go by, we have had a lot of outside assistance come in. A lot of resources have come in from outside, and I knew that would happen. And it's made me feel better, as I'm sure many of you in the community, day by day. But I want to give a shout out to many of the churches who were affected just like us. Many of them have members that have homes destroyed, and they're busy, and they're dealing with all the stresses that we've had to stress, the last week, because it's been over a week today. Today means earlier 11 a.m. was landfall in Grand Isle a week ago, right? So we're in this well over a week. But the fact that these churches would come together and deliver to our citizens really means a lot to me personally, and that they're in this zone, they're dealing with everything we're dealing with, and they're able to give and provide. I hate to read this list because I know many more churches were probably doing things, but quickly, throughout the day, these churches were mentioned, and I just want to thank them. Celebration Church with hot meals, Vineyard Church in Kenner with water, ice, produce, and frozen chicken, the Church of the King in Kenner, Victory Church on Airline gave away food, baby formula, wipes, and other relief supplies, Life Center Cathedral in Marrero, Greater Mount Calvary in Marrero, and New Day Christian Center in Wagamin. And I'm sure many more were out there. Again, this is just what I heard through many conversations today, and I want to thank them for when our community needs you, you're there for us, and you're going through that effort, and I personally appreciate it very much. So, animal assistance, our Jefferson Protection Animal Welfare Services also wants to thank the Louisiana Humane Society and Greater Good that donated dog and cat food to them. So again, thank you for that. And again, I've said it so many other times, I'm so proud to be part of this team who was helping get this community back together. I don't know if there was a name for it before, but now I call us a recovery worker. We're all recovery workers. And one day you're going to find out how much is going on in all different departments. Every day, and I've been living at this EOC for the past week, every day I found out another thing one of our employees is doing that I didn't know we were doing. And I have been living and breathing this for a week. So the breadth of services that is happening throughout Jefferson Parish government, state government, federal government, private, nonprofit is amazing. One day I'm going to know what everybody did, but I want to thank them, because the fact that we're even talking about people coming back and stores opening when we took the first hit of this incredible storm that just kept giving and having destruction all the way to the Northeast is amazing to me. It is amazing to me, and I'm very proud to be part of this team. So with that, I will ask Sheriff Joseph Lapinto to come up, our Jefferson Parish Sheriff.
Thank you, Madam President. Give you a little bit of update. Our operations have kind of changed from a life-sustaining operation more to a quality of life operation. The last few days have been taxing on the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office, down in Lafitte especially. Now we have that ferry system in place. We've been able to get a fire truck and a police car over on that side of the Barataria waterway. Going to continue to work with that operation and now try to get back to some type of quality of life. The biggest question that I've been getting is, what is that? When do I come back home if you're out of town? If you're here, you know what the quality of life is. You know what's going on. You can see it. If you're out of town and you're trying to get it from the news, you don't always have that information. I've put a few things out. The gas lines have been getting shorter. In many of the gas stations that I saw that were open today had lines that may have extended into the street for a block or two, but not the 6, 8, 10 blocks that we're seeing over the last few days. So I think the tensions have decreased from that. The shorter wait on the gas lines were good. What I did notice, it looked like the gas lines turned to the pharmacy lines. Several of the pharmacies that were open had similar lines to the gas stations over the last days. So, anybody that's out of town that's looking at that map to figure out when they're going to come home, I asked them not only look at the map, which Cynthia just said, look at the map, make sure your power is on, but also manage your expectations. If you're coming back in town, make sure you have your pharmaceutical needs. Make sure you have some extra gasoline before you get here, just for your vehicle itself. And then make sure you have your food. Lines at the grocery stores are also long. Doesn't mean you can't get into a grocery store here. Doesn't mean you can't get what you need. But the line here is going to be a lot longer than it will be if you stopped on your way in. So take those things into account. Also be aware of what the dangers are. I literally received a text message while we were sitting here on the stage. Person got power a little bit ago, and I got a text message, yay, we got power. And now they just literally called me on stage because the tree in their backyard is catching on fire because they have power. So that's something that we're working on. Fire departments obviously being dispatched because power is coming on in the neighborhood doesn't mean that it's not going to be turned right back off. Electricity can come on for a short period of time. Yay, we got power. We're packing up the car. We're taking the kids home, and then all of a sudden they get shut off again because of a danger down the street and may not be on for a period of time because they'll need a tree cutting crew to come down there and get it cleared. So manage those expectations. If you have young kids and you have the ability to stay away for a couple of days, it's probably good. Internet will probably be down at your house. You won't be able to have them indoors. It's going to start stinking outside in front of the houses now. Everybody's garbage has been out there. Playing football on the street is not going to be fun. So, you may think it's bad where you are now, but coming home, you may regret it after 2 or 3 days. So if you have the means and are out of town, just check with those conditions of your individual neighborhood, your individual street before you get back. Crime, our calls for service are still elevated. But they've kind of stabled out from the disturbances, the burglaries that have existed. Those things have stabled out. We expect to obviously find some more when people come back home, but we're doing a really good job of keeping up with that. Again, the 12-hour patrols are still out in the street. Our deputies are still working. The security contingent from the Louisiana Sheriff's Association, really want to thank Grant Parish and DeSoto Parish, sending deputies down. They're going to manage, along with my people, are going to be down in Grand Isle for a period of time, managing the security contingent down there. So they sent a group of deputies down, and they got there today and plan on being there for the long haul. So we'll be here, I think, midweek. I think if it is probably realistic to at least give us some ideas for you to check on your individual situation. But if you're out of town and you have the ability to stay there for a few more days, it'd be nice to do so. We're getting back to normal. The parish is not closed. We don't have any checkpoints up to stopping people to come back home. I just want people to know what the conditions are and be able to expect them for when they get home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheriff. Our next speaker is from Louisiana National Guard, Lieutenant Colonel Barry Riley.
Thank you, Madam President. To date, on the pod sites first, I'll start off. We've serviced over 26,000 vehicles. We've issued over 346,000 bottles of water, 500,000 pounds of ice, 287,000 MREs, and 10,000 tarps. We continue to provide security assistance to parish and local law enforcement, provide generator support, medical support, road clearance to support the movements of first responders, public works, fire, police, medical, and other essential services. As the parish president alluded to, the ferry operations in Lafitte are ongoing, with planning to initiate a fixed site crossing bridge at the Lafitte area. We continue to support the parish with potable water and communication assets. We are trained, we are prepared, and we are equipped to support recovery operations in Jefferson Parish. We have witnessed the resiliency and kindness of the citizens of this parish, and it encourages us. Without question, we are honored. Protect what matters. Thank you.
Okay, next we're going to have, y'all going to come together or one another? We'll do East Bank Chief David Tibbetts and our West Bank Fire Chief Brian Adams, but I do want you to explain to people why we're going to expect to see more fires when the electricity comes back on, okay, as well as all the other. Okay.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening. Just to show, if you can see in front of me, I want to thank the Louisiana State Fire Marshal, Chief Butch Browning, has supplied us with 200 of these yard signs that you see in front of me with the information on it for generator safety. 100 of those will be on the East Bank, 100 on the West Bank. We are looking at where we are making our responses and the heat on that, as we call it, and that's where they're being placed. So again, thank you to the state fire marshals. I did some more research, and I actually have been given us numbers from September 1st, but today I spent some time and got the numbers all the way back from August 29th. So as of right now, from August 29th to this time, we have responded to 413 carbon monoxide responses. That's alarms, odors, whatever we could relate with that, fires. And I want to compare that just for a moment. In the winter, we run our heaters. We don't have severe winters here in Louisiana, but we do run our heaters. During that time, we normally get calls in that 3 or 4 month period in the neighborhood of 12 to 20 calls for service for carbon monoxide. So just to give us a little barrier where we are, in the last 5 or 6 days, 400 calls for service. 27 people were transported, and this is parish-wide, One of those individuals was a 3-year-old child. And, of course, as you well know, sadly, we've had 3 fatalities. The East Bank continues to support the missions of the EOC. We continue to do our tree clearing when we can. We worked with a regional group this morning, created a PSA, or public safety announcement for generator safety. That should be going out in social media soon. And then we did receive some extra dry chemical extinguishers, which I'll lead into why we got those. Dry chemical extinguishers are used to help us fight electrical fires. It's a force multiplier, we call it. So as we change from, and these numbers that I gave you to 413, most of those were early on. Our numbers today so far just 22. So as that changes, we start to go into now the re-energizing of the electrical lines. We start to have fire. So we're going to be, again, the electrical issues of safety are present. Generators backfeeding, the work being done. If you see a line in the street, consider it deadly and stay away from it. A lot of people think they know things, and they may be wrong. It's a bad time to be wrong. I do want to thank the Rapides Parish Fire Department and that group of folks. We did have 2 tankers come in. They're still here working side by side with us, and I want to thank for that. We got that through our request through the state as well. So that's what we have tonight. So again, it's become a thing for me to give out homework. Just check our signs, look at them, discuss them with somebody. Go to your neighbor's house and knock on a door. Tell them hello. Ask them if they're all right. Ask them if they need anything, especially if they have that generator running. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. So I'm going to a little bit of, I guess, more information about what Chief Tibbetts said. If you're home and your power's out, make sure you check to make sure your stoves are off, bathroom heaters. Those things are all, the minute the power comes on, it can be energized, right? So those are a lot of things that we've responded to over the years that will happen. If you were cooking when the power went out, you left your stove on, go back and check all of those items to make sure. That was just a little bit there to what Chief Tibbetts said. So Grand Isle. So tomorrow, myself and Colonel Anderson are going to head to Grand Isle to begin preparations for our teams who will arrive on Tuesday and Wednesday to begin the recovery process. This will be a long, drawn-out process. We will send daily reports back to the parish president of street by street and block by block as we make our way through the island, clearing the roads and beginning the process of getting families back into their places if they can. Entergy will work alongside with us as we clear a mile. Entergy will be behind us, replacing poles. So it'll be a very calculated plan that Colonel Anderson and I have been working on for the last couple of days. So we're coming, we're ready, we're coming to see the folks in Grand Isle and make what's right. And I kind of like that. How'd you say that, Colonel? Protect what matters. I like that. I like that. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. We're lucky to have Mr. Jim Donnellan. Mr. Donnellan is our Louisiana Commissioner of Insurance. I know many people have questions. I know there's a lot of talk about this. So when we invited him here, I want to thank him for joining us and addressing the citizens of Jefferson Parish.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam President, for your service as well as this invitation tonight to talk for a few minutes about what is important relative to insurance. And let me start with what we did first, and that is issue Emergency Rule 47. 47 sounds like a bunch of numbers, and it goes back many years, frankly, back to Katrina, when we issued, as Florida had done the year before, a group of emergency rules in the aftermath of Katrina and Rita. And since then, we've done it periodically, including for the pandemic a year and a half ago, for Laura in the southwest corner last year, and now for Ida in the 25 parishes that the governor has declared an emergency in. And my authority under the legislature just granted, actually, in legislation sponsored by Senator Abraham of Lake Charles in the just concluded session, for the area the governor has designated and the duration of the governor's emergency declaration. So that first emergency declaration in Emergency Rule 47 is just for 30 days. What it does generally is suspend cancellations and non-renewals of insurance for any reason. They are frozen in place from the Saturday before Laura hit, the 27th, was it? Time flies when you're having fun. But and until 30 days down from that, it will be reauthorized and extended. I dare say my expectation is it'll be reauthorized for 130-day increments for a total of probably 120 days. It's a typical package of protections for insurance policyholders that we've done, as I mentioned before, several times. Secondly, the issue has arisen over the provision in the law for what I refer to as short-term additional living expense versus long-term additional living expense, which comes with property that is uninhabitable. And insurance policies for long-term additional living expense typically have a 1-year duration, maximum duration, for additional living expense while your premises are uninhabitable. And in State Farm's case, which has 25% of our market, their coverage for additional long-term additional living expense is actually 2 years. But for short-term additional living expense, called in the policies is civil authority additional living expense, up to 14 days. It has, as a part of the policies in every group of policies and company policies that we've examined, a requirement that there be a mandatory evacuation issued before that coverage kicks in. There's a second provision requiring that in order to collect, there has to be a covered peril claim or damage in the vicinity of your premises. That's not an issue. Everything in the 25 parishes has some damage, one shingle off of a house somewhere in the area. The issue arose with regard to a mandatory evacuation not being declared in St. Bernard, in Orleans, and in Jefferson, and for good reasons. It was life safety reasons that prompted those civil authorities not to issue mandatory evacuation orders, but instead to do voluntary evacuation orders. In my own case, evacuating with my wife on the Friday night before, I got home from my office in Baton Rouge at 9 o'clock, and we started packing to evacuate. And I said, my grandson had a lakefront cross-country meet the next day out on the lakefront at 6:30. And I said, my wife's nickname is Mopsy. I said, Mops, let's wait till in the morning, go see Patrick run his race, and then head out of town. No, Jim, we're leaving tonight. She told me, since we're gone, that if I hadn't relented, she would have gone by herself, and I would have been at the meet the next morning watching my grandson. I was told by those who were there, including my daughter, his mother, we made the right decision to leave at 11 o'clock that night instead of waiting until the next morning when my granddaughter and her family evacuated to Alexandria. The issue of mandatory evacuation is not about insurance and should never be about insurance. It is all about the safety of the people we represent. And the parish presidents and the mayor who made the decision that they made absolutely made the right decision. Last Thursday, the president came to Louisiana, and upon his arrival, he issued a statement calling on the insurance industry to give up that issue of the issuance of a mandatory evacuation order and pay the claims with a voluntary or no evacuation order, whatever, because people had to get out of harm's way in a very short period of time. And this circumstance certainly dictated that kind of action by our local leaders. I concur, and on Friday I issued a bulletin urging the insurers to do as the president suggested and as I'm requesting, and not impose that requirement of a mandatory evacuation order. So far I've heard about 3 companies. I have to give credit, as the parish president just did, to Entergy, where they are putting the best effort forth on behalf of the people, of the victims of this event. Allstate actually approached me before we went to them, asking for an urge and request of the waiver of that mandatory evacuation provision so that they could pay it without regard. And we now have issued that in accordance with the President's guidance, and 3 companies have voluntarily started complying, and that's Allstate, USAA, and Pure Insurance Company. I got a call this morning from the representatives of State Farm, who represent 25% of our homeowners market, asking for a phone conference tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, and we will be having that conference call in the morning at 10 o'clock, and I will let you know thereafter what the results are there. If they join the 3 that have done it since Friday, we will have 45% of the homeowners market in compliance with our request, and I would expect that would start a domino effect of the other companies getting in line as well. It's not an easy thing to do. This bulletin went out to insurance companies. We have 136 companies writing homeowners insurance in the state, and some of them are located in London and Zurich and all around the world, and they have to go up the chain with this request. Many of the smaller companies reinsure their risk through the international reinsurance marketplace, and that presents challenges with regard to whether they will be reimbursed for these payments if they voluntarily comply. Lastly, a couple of points. First and foremost, file your claim. Get in line sooner rather than later. The sooner you get in line, the sooner you'll get an adjuster. The sooner you get an adjuster, the sooner you'll get a contractor roofer, a local, reputable, licensed, insured contractor roofer, not those scam artists that chase storms all across America and prey upon people who get a big check from their insurance company, make a bunch of promises, get that money from them, and head east with geese. The sooner you do file your claim, the sooner you will get your life put back together. Let me add, there is no downside to filing a claim, even if it's not going to exceed your deductible. In this case, your hurricane or named storm deductible. It will not, under the law, be allowed to be used as a reason to increase your premiums on an individual basis or to non-renew or cancel you. That's Louisiana law. An act of God claim cannot be used. Act of God's claims are hailstorms, tornadoes, and hurricanes. The law does not allow such claims to be used in renewal, in cancellation, or in raising rates for policyholders. In addition to that, we have another law that we copied after Hurricane Gustav was followed by Ike heading in the same direction, threatening to do 2 in a row like we saw last year in Lake Charles with Laura, followed by Delta a couple of weeks later. Florida in 2004 had 4 hurricanes hit their state, and they passed a law that said 1 hurricane deductible per hurricane season. So even if your claim for this event is not going to result in payment to you because it doesn't get above your hurricane deductible, it will count against a hurricane deductible if, hopefully, prayerfully, we don't have this happen as happened in Lake Charles last year. But if another storm should come our way and damage your property. So lots of reasons to file your claim sooner rather than later. No reason not to file it whatsoever. Number 2, know that you have a duty in your policy, even your flood insurance policy, to minimize your damages as best you can, as safely as you can, and accessing whatever labor help, whatever supplies are necessary to cover over a hole in your roof or whatever other damage may have occurred before you can get your adjuster out, get your check, get your contractor to repair that property. You have a duty under your policy to minimize that damage. And those receipts for that effort on your behalf should be kept. That is compensable to your claim when you finish up. Lastly, if you have any issues, any questions, any concerns, don't understand all this arcane, complicated insurance stuff, call us. 800-259-5300. State offices have been closed since the hurricane. We've had 30 volunteers in our offices in Baton Rouge, which downtown Baton Rouge has had power virtually immediately after the storm. We've had 30 volunteers there answering the calls on behalf of consumers with questions about the hurricane and deductibles and claims and additional living expense. We have been handling 300 such calls per hour for the full week from Monday through, well, actually not Monday, we weren't open Monday, but from Tuesday through Friday with a wait time of 1 minute. 800-259-5300. Thanks again, Madam President, for the opportunity to share these few ideas and concerns with your constituents. Thank you, ma'am.
Commissioner Donilon, thank you so much for being here. I think our listening public, you gave some incredible information that's going to help them with their individual claims. Okay, our next speaker is Patrick Hamby from Entergy.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Patrick Hamby on behalf of Entergy, Louisiana. I'd like to start out just by giving some historical facts and reference points for some comparison and just to give you an idea. I gave you one last night. The damage assessments weren't done. They're largely done now, and this is statewide information to compare the effects and devastation of Ida to some other storms that we've had, since Katrina. So poles down, damaged. The total count during Katrina for the whole state was 17,400 poles. During Rita in 2008, that was 11,000 poles that were downed. And Hurricane Ike, that was 8,200 poles. Laura, which was just last year over in Lake Charles, 14,000 poles. And then we get to Ida, that was obviously, on the anniversary of Katrina, we have 30,000 poles, approximately 30,000 poles, 700. So it almost doubles what Katrina did. So this is truly the most catastrophic storm we've ever dealt with in this region, from an Entergy perspective, from a personal perspective with property and everything else. We have a long way to go. It's a marathon that we're trying to kind of sprint through the marathon as safely and quickly as we can. I would also like to start and touch on the maps, the estimated restoration time maps that we have out there. We update those daily. I mentioned that yesterday. We walked through it at with a pretty good explanation. It's important to note the update today happened around 4 p.m., and this is going to happen around 3 and 4 every single day. Point of note is the West Bank side was updated to bring it all the way over to the Luling line over there. So information will be updated every day. Please continue to check that. But as Sheriff Lapinto said, my advice would be wait until September 9th. Our goal is September 8th to have 90% restored. See where you fit and where you fall out in that number, and then start making your decision to come home. Because what is today? September 5th, 6, 7, 8, that's just 3 more days to just wait and see. You still have a lot of work to do beyond the electric distribution system in the parish. The critical work, or the work on critical infrastructure, continues. Highest priority right now to me is the East Bank water plant. We have 3 feeds that go to that water plant. We have one that's hot, which has allowed for, I'll let Mark Drews talk about what they do. And then another one we're trying to get hot tonight. So that's 2 feeds out of the 3. That should be enough to get them to 100% power, but we're working on that second feed. The third feed that we have comes down River Road from Harahan, where we did the transmission line blast activities. So that feed, we actually had to drop some of it down close to the activity down during the dynamite blast, which will cause extra work. Plus, in addition to that, the storm knocked down multiple poles on River Road. So that one is going to be 3 more days. I've contacted the director of water. We've talked about that. The 2 feeds should be good. The third feed it's a nice safety net to have, but it should be fine. The view outage map, that was the map where you go and you see the red and the green, not the estimated restoration times for the 90% by region, but the live map that gives you your red, green lines, if you're on, if you're off. There are some discrepancies on that map, so my advice would be if it shows that your power is on, call a neighbor, call somebody who is back here before you come in town and verify. And I'll give you the reason. We're working on fixing that. Right now, we've actively been working on that. There's many reasons. One of the main reasons, coupled with some IT activities, is abnormal configuration in the field. So if you think about the big substations we have out there, there are many different sources, many different feeders coming out of that. Each one of them can withstand a certain amount of load or a certain amount of homes or businesses that you can put on them. If one feeder has a ton of damage on it, there's extra space on other feeders. We're going to switch you over there so that you can have power while we make permanent repairs on the damaged feeder, so you don't have to wait, another 3 days or what have you. So when that happens, that's called abnormal configuration. It doesn't necessarily always match up with the online system. There's some lag in the data being transferred over, and in some cases, it just is a big kind of roadblock for the data to be accurate. So again, the map is great. It's largely accurate, but if you see that it's green and your lights are appearing to be on, please contact somebody. Get some physical notification that that is accurate. Restoration activities, we have some good news here. I'll go over the peak outages again. That was at 204,370, virtually, all of Jefferson Parish was out. Today, the outages as of 4 p.m., about 4 hours ago, we were down to 157,175 outages. So far, in the last few days here, we've restored power to 47,195 customers, and that's as of 4 p.m. today. So that number is greater as we speak, and we're still working into the night. So if you look at that breakdown of how we've restored customers, so yesterday we restored 17,000 customers by 4 p.m. That was about 9%. So today we've restored 30,195 customers. So you can see that increase in that drastic increase in the number of customers we're getting back on. There are many reasons for that. We got 9 Mile 6 back on, and we are able to bring up larger chunks of customers. And then also we've done a lot of cleanup. You see all the poles down on the ground. You see the wires, the damaged equipment. We have to move all that out the way and basically rebuild the system, right? So that prep work has been done in a lot of places. We have larger projects going on and that are starting now. An example of that would be at Williams and West Esplanade. We are doing the larger projects now, and that groundwork has taken place in many areas of the parish. So that's why we've seen that from 17,000 yesterday restored to 30,195 restored today. So that number should increase, and that trend should continue for the next few days. So we are coordinating with AT&T and Cox. We make sure that they know and where we're working, when possible. We cannot work at the same time with them. It's not safe. They have to work separately on their own. They have separate rules, separate equipment, separate guidelines, obviously. But we are coordinating with them the best we can. We've reached out to each other. They have my number. I have their number. So that activity is happening. I just wanted to give you a peace of mind regarding communications and entertainment for TV and all that good stuff. Safety, we have many downlines. I mentioned Williams and West Esplanade. If you've been over there, it's not safe, but yet there's traffic going by, and you have to get around town to understand that. Please stay off the roads if you can, but if you have to walk or drive, watch out for those downlines. You have the potential for backfeed still with generators, and we're restoring power. So I mentioned that last night, 13,800 volts could potentially be on the line. Most likely not, but you never know. Be careful and stay away from down lines. So the West Bank Fire Chief Brian Adams stole a quote, and I'm going to steal one that he used a few days ago. And I liked it. This is a team effort. We're all working together. Not just Entergy working out on their own. We're working for you. We're here for you. We're not leaving until every single light is on. We're working with every single person in this emergency operations center. So I liked his quote, one team, one heart. Stay safe, and we'll get the lights on.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Next, our Director of Emergency Management, Mr. Joe Valiente.
Thank you, Madam President, and good evening, everyone. So we're still fully activated, levels, by working with our parish department heads, our state and federal agencies. Our community development and our JeffCap departments and directors have done an incredible job with taking donated material and making sure that it's accessible to the public in different sites. They're doing a remarkable job at that. There's just one more thing that I want to say. I just want to mention that if you have any kind of a storm-related issue that's not an emergency, use the 349-5360, 349-5360. If you have any kind of an emergency that's serious, it requires immediate attention, medical, or some type of crime, make sure you can still call that 911 number. That's available. So non-emergency, hurricane-related, 349-5360. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Next up, we'll have our Director of Public Works, Mr. Mark Drews.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, we'll start with water. Please remember that the boil water advisory is in effect on both the East Bank and West Bank. At the East Bank plant, we have 60 psi pressure. Normal pressure is 65 to 70. And yesterday I stood here and I turned around to Patrick Hamby and I reminded him that our most important goal in public works was to get power to that East Bank plant. So today I'm going to turn and I'm going to say thank you, Patrick, because we did get that power to the plant. We are now half on electric power at the plant, which enables us to start sampling our water on the East Bank. So we will begin that process tomorrow morning. With regard to our West Bank plant, again, we have 60 psi pressure. We're on full Entergy power. We completed our sampling efforts today. So we are now in the testing phase of that water supply. So that's the good news with regard to water. Now, we still have approximately 50 outstanding water breaks, and we will be managing those every day this week to try to reduce that number and get everyone back to complete water service. With regard to our sewer system, obviously our 5 treatment plants are in operation and have never been out of operation. We are improving in that we now have more lift stations online. Basically, we have 217 of our 530 lift stations now either have portable pumps or portable generators or Entergy power. That's up to 41% of our system from where we started early this morning. We started at 30%. So we also have 81 trucks now in lieu of 70 vacuum trucks that can handle going to our other lift stations that do not have any type of pumping capability to drain those and bring that sewage to the treatment plant. So we're in much better shape, and I anticipate tomorrow we will make more strides as more of our lift stations come on to Entergy power. With regard to drainage, our East Bank and West Bank drainage systems are fully functional, so we should be ready for any stormy weather that we get this week. So our efforts, again, were down in Lafitte today. In Lafitte, as I said last night, all of our lift stations in Lafitte are operating with the exception of Jones Point, which has Entergy lines blocking it. So we are pumping in Lafitte at all of our lift stations with the exception of one. We had a slow day in Barataria today. Our main goal is to get the Paye lift station, which has permanent pumps, up and running. We reached it today. Unfortunately, there is a lot of debris there. So what we did manage today was to get a marsh buggy with an excavator across to Barataria, and first thing in the morning we would begin clearing that debris. And hopefully by the end of the day we can get those pumps up and running. In addition, we were able to get portable pumps across the Barataria today. And early tomorrow morning we will begin placing those pumps. We were also able to get a fuel truck across on the ferry that the parish president was talking about that DOTD had put in place. So we now have a fuel truck over there which will help us to keep those pumps that we put out, the temporary ones, fueled. So we're in much better shape now in Barataria, so hopefully tomorrow we can actually get some pumping going. With respect to streets and parkways, we continued our clearing efforts. We cleared another 15 streets. These actually had multiple trees down. We cleared 3 locations, which would help us to get to 3 broken water lines so that we can now access them for repairs. All of our West Bank roadways are passable now, with the exception of Entergy or utility issues. okay? And we anticipate after tomorrow, by the end of tomorrow, all of our East Bank roadways will be passed with the exception of any Entergy or utility issues. With regard to traffic, we continue to try to restore our signals that have twisted mast arms or other damage. We've finished 12 signals today. We had 35 signals that actually had Entergy power as of early this afternoon out of approximately 200 of our signals, and I know the state had a similar percentage. I want to touch again on environmental. As the parish president said, they'll begin that slow process because of our traffic issues and fuel issues of picking up those tipper carts. And we have a separate contractor with trucks that'll be on both banks, East Bank and West Bank, picking up vegetative debris. We ask that you separate that vegetative debris, which is your tree limbs, from any construction debris you have. The construction debris being roofing materials, any damage to your house, or you might have a patio cover. Keep those separate because the trucks that are going out, they are going to pick up the vegetative debris. We will have trucks come in later that will pick up construction debris, and we need it separated because that's FEMA regulations. By FEMA regulations, we have to keep that, what we call woody waste, separate from our construction debris. So we ask that we do that. But more importantly is what the parish president talked about. We expect increased rain chances this week, so please, when you're putting that debris out, do not block our gutters. Keep that debris behind the curb, okay, in the parish right-of-way, okay? You want to keep it behind the curb and to the sidewalk because we cannot pick up on private property, but please do not block our gutters. And that brings us up to speed on Public Works. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. Our next speaker is Chief Administrative Assistant Sarah Babcock.
Good evening, everyone. So as the parish president mentioned, around 10 o'clock last night, the generator at Pard Playground went out, and so that operation has been moved to Kings Grant. Our team did an amazing job in the middle of the dark to relocate all of that. We had 2 evacuees at Pard during the time, but we were able to easily get them moved over. So I really appreciate our rec department and general services who made that happen. As we've mentioned, the number of people wanting to evacuate is slowing down. So today we only had 23 individuals who left through that location. 22 of them went to general population shelters, and 1 was transferred actually to a hospital. As a reminder, if you would like to be evacuated, the number is 504-349-5360. As I've mentioned, this operation is going to start to wind down, so it may be likely, that tomorrow or the following day may be the last time that we are sending people out of the parish. I'm working closely with the Red Cross to discuss opening shelters here within the parish as we begin to bring people back for anyone whose home is uninhabitable. But we will have more on that throughout the week. If you had a loved one that left Pard or Kings Grant and went to a state-run shelter, or if they drove out and maybe went to a state-run shelter and you are looking for them, DCFS has set up a family connection hotline. That phone number is 225-342-2727. You can also fill out a form online. That website address is www.dcfs.louisiana.gov/DCFS-connect. We've been posting this on social media and on our website so that you can help find your loved ones. I just want to put out a reminder, today we had another heat advisory. It was hot out there. Please check on your neighbors if they have remained. Maybe you're just coming back to town. Find out who is still here. Today I received a call from a 97-year-old woman who says she has been trying to find someone to call for help for days now. And she actually called my personal cell phone, and I still have no idea how Miss Geraldine got my number, but she didn't know where to call. And so if you have neighbors, you know, their cell phones may be dead, they don't have power to watch TV, please check on them, and again, call us if they need assistance, 504-349-5360. We were able to take some supplies out to her and get her cooled off today. We still have oxygen distribution at Fire Station 20 in Metairie and Fire Station 81 in Harvey. We did get a resupply of oxygen tanks during the night last night, and then some more again this afternoon. They're slow coming in, but we have started to see a slight decrease in the number of people needing those tanks between the convention center opening for medical special needs, people evacuated, and power starting to be restored. But those are still available. Just as Mark, thank Patrick for getting the East Bank water treatment plant some power. We actually had 2 nursing homes that came online with Entergy power as well today. We've also been checking in with those nursing homes. As you've heard a number of days in a row, generators are starting to fail. And so making sure that all the nursing homes have enough fuel, but also are changing oil and managing those well. As the parish president mentioned, we had 4 nursing homes that evacuated pre-storm. 3 of them, Maison de Ville, West Jefferson Healthcare, and Park Place, all were part of the Bob Dean Company that were moved to a warehouse in Independence, Louisiana. A few days into that incident, the Louisiana Department of Health became aware that that situation was not really suitable for nursing home residents, and that individuals were starting to deteriorate. The Louisiana Department of Health put out a statement last night with a lot more details, that you can read. But the important piece is that all of the residents that were in that facility have been moved to medical special needs shelters earlier this week. If you are looking for a loved one that was a part of that group, you can call 211 to find out more information. If you are out of state right now and looking for your loved one, that phone number is 1-800-755-5175. And as has already been mentioned, Dr. Cantor, the state health officer, has issued an immediate closure of those 3 facilities. It was already mentioned that due to the flooding in some of our cemeteries, particularly in the Lafitte area, caskets have begun to move. This is actually fairly common in our low-lying areas during high levels of flooding. So there is a group of experts at the state level. They make up the Cemetery Response Task Force. And so I believe it was Monday or Tuesday, the team that was doing search and rescue in that area brought this to my attention. We contacted the Cemetery Response Task Force through LDH. They have done aerial surveys and will go in to do some more on-the-ground work. They have, it's really important that we're using a lot of our vehicles and our manpower for life-saving initiatives first, but the Cemetery Task Force is getting prepared to go down there. I know that he talked to Mayor Kerner today to get more details about where caskets may be located. Obviously, this is a very sensitive subject. This team is experts at this. They will do a thorough investigation to find each casket, identify who, the loved one that is there, and put it back in its place. So it is a long process for them to go through that. They will work with those cemeteries and the families to ensure that they have found everyone and put them back. So we would just want to make sure everyone is aware that this is being addressed, and we will keep everyone updated. Lastly, I just want to mention that the Department of Children and Family Services has requested approval for the DSNAP program. So this is Emergency Food Assistance Money. If you already receive SNAP benefits, you do not qualify for DSNAP. Instead, you may have received extra funding on your card that you already have, and you can currently use your SNAP benefits to purchase prepared meals at any of the normal retailers that accept EBT cards. That is through September 28th. You cannot buy prepared meals at restaurants with that card. If you do not currently receive SNAP benefits, but you have lost everything in your refrigerator, you need assistance for food, you can pre-register for this program online at www.dcfs.louisiana.gov/DSNAP, so DSNAP. You can pre-register for that. Again, it has not been approved. That is another process that typically takes the federal government a number of weeks for approval. Last note, the mental health hotline, 1-800-256-2522. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. So in closing, I just want to again invite a Cox or an AT&T representative to join us here at the podium. I think it is a great way to get out credible information to a lot of people in Jefferson Parish. Also, if you're kind of a data-driven person like me, you can see every day we're giving you so many numbers, the improvement happening every day. We're not just saying things are getting better, but we're proving it to you. And I know I thanked a lot of people today, but I personally want to do a special thank you. I called us recovery workers. I never really used that term before, but to the families of the recovery workers. We have been working nonstop for over a week now. We all have personal family responsibilities. We have been away from our families, and we know other members of the family have had to step up and take additional responsibilities, whether it's just being away from home and handling everything, caring for children, caring for older people. And all I can say is we're all important to our own families, but at this moment, for the past over a week, our community needed us more. And the focus that we've all been able to have on whatever mission we're doing across the board is only because other people in our family have stepped up. And it has given us a soul, we've been able to concentrate on the work we've had to do because we know things are taken care of on the home front. So I just want to personally thank everyone that is allowing all of us to do that. Many people are away from home, flew here to be away from home, or many people here who stayed have their families away. It goes both ways. But again, we're only able to do our work because other people are stepping up and allowing us to focus on what the community needs. So I want to thank you very much for that. Okay, so with that, we will see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Thank you very much.